This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 13th of August, 2021, and I am GK.
I'm Mo.
I am CS. In today's headlines, the Daily Nation, inside Raila talks with US EU envoys.
Interesting.
In the Star, Ruto Mount Kenya allies table new demands. In the People Daily, why they all could still be on the ballot. And in the Standard, what is Ruto up to?
What indeed?
And I think that's where we kick off today. Court is in session.
Here.
Today, we commence our submissions by charging William Ruto with 2 offenses in the court of public opinion.
Okay.
The first offense falls within the category of duplicity, and specifically the deputy president who cried wolf and demeaned his office. The suspicions of many right-thinking Kenyans were confirmed today when Super CS Fred Matiang'i blew the lid off the deceitful lamentations of the DP and his Tanga minions with respect to the Harun Ayidin controversy.
So one of our sister security agents flagged up this gentleman for 2 reasons. One, they noticed that he had been traveling around the region, and 2, they noticed that he was keeping the company of people who are involved in money laundering. One of his associates in a neighboring country had actually been arrested in a third country while he was bribing a minister. So when this was flagged to us, we of course also got interested in this person. That's how we tracked his movement. We saw he's in Sudan, he's in Zanzibar, Goma, Uganda, and all that kind of thing.
Kenyan security and intelligence apparatus, which the DP undermined and called petty, has now revealed that Harun Ayidin, the so-called investor, was traveling with associates involved in money laundering activities across the region. And that he entered the country through fraudulent means, using a fake contract, purportedly from the energy sector, to deceive immigration officials to issue him with a work permit.
Wow.
This is the caliber of man that the DP would have us believe that the government of Kenya apologized to without even using the proper diplomatic channels. The DP keeps demeaning his office and bringing much disrepute to it. But then again, such associations shouldn't be too surprising if we recall that his office also played host to a scheme involving fake military arms dealings with Polish nationals. Students of government would readily submit that such dealings do not befit the presidential mold. But before we conclude this charge, allow us to draw a contrast. Earlier this week, we highlighted that when government is deliberate about attracting foreign investment, there's a proper way to go about it.
We are members of so many security sector agencies, so many international conventions govern our conduct. There's a way in which governments deal with each other. We're not under the 3 ramshackle operation, where we don't, because there's a way, under the Geneva Convention, there's a way in which a government communicates with another government. There isn't a note verbal. In this case, the instrument will be a note verbal signed by our Principal Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Macharia, or signed by our Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Rachel Mamo.
We usually see this when President Uhuru engages foreign investors through proper government-to-government channels with all the dignity that his office demands. And the president does this for the benefit of all Kenyans. This is quite different from the kind of investors Ruto is dealing with. Today, we would like to aid this point with some figures. The most recent report released by the Foreign Investment Survey revealed that foreign direct investment inflows to Kenya are in the neighborhood of 1 trillion shillings, thanks to President Uhuru Kenyatta's efforts with foreign strategic partners and his foreign policy initiatives.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you have President Uhuru securing 1 trillion shillings in FDI, while on the other hand, you have bottom-up economics sending 15 billion to Uganda.
Nice play of words there.
While on the topic of bottom-up economics,
Okay.
the second charge we table against William Ruto in the court of public opinion is that of plagiarism.
Intrigued.
Ruto's camp recently unveiled an economic plan for the Nyanza region.
Yeah.
However, the CEO of the Lake Region Economic Bloc, Mr. Abala Wanga, yesterday revealed that Ruto's economic plan was actually plagiarized from their economic blueprint. Mr. Wanga was quoted as saying, "What he is parading now in public spaces are all cut and pasted from our documents. He has just lifted everything, and we are going to write a letter to restrain him from using our information. This is plagiarism of the highest order," end quote. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we invite the court of public opinion to find Mr. William Ruto on the first charge of crying wolf and demeaning his office guilty. As to the second charge of plagiarizing ideas to resuscitate his collapsing bottom-up economics, we also ask the court of public opinion to find Mr. William Ruto guilty as charged.
You know, with those words, that plagiarism situation, you wonder what else someone of that high order may have plagiarized.
Oh,
I'll leave that right there
at
for you.
this point, will all those shenanigans? Oh, I don't know. So this Friday, I'd like to talk about the Daily Nation's headline, "Inside Raila's Talks with Envoys." I would like to submit that our Western allies have given Baba Man their vote of confidence to lead the country. According to the article, the presidential hopeful recently met with not 1, but 9 foreign diplomats. At the meeting, he reassured them that should he win the presidency next year, his foreign policy would be similar to that of the Jubilee government, and thus relationships between his prospective government and their governments will remain as is. Talk about continuity. In international relations, every nation has always been interdependent. Even after attaining a high level of development, nations have to an extent make dependencies on other nations. This is to fulfill their interests. You know, they all have to work with each other, right? So one Indian philosopher named Chanakya put it quite rightly. He said, "There is some self-interest behind every friendship. There is no friendship without self-interest."
Absolutely.
This is just the simple truth. But what makes the American and European vote of confidence so important? You see, as we've pointed out in the past, over 70% of wealth at the Nairobi Securities Exchange is foreign. Your favorite telco, Safaricom, is partially owned by Vodafone, a UK company. 1 of 2 cups of tea drunk in Britain came from Kenya. And Kenya's horticultural and cash crop earnings would be nothing without British consumers and European consumers. It's, you know, it's a whole ecosystem. Lastly, as CAS has pointed out, foreign direct investment in Kenya was close to 1 trillion shillings in 2019, and that number keeps increasing. So guys, what does this all mean? Kenya needs to maintain a productive relationship with her Western neighbors. If we don't, Kenya could become the next Zimbabwe. The mineral-rich country has a GDP 1/4 the size of ours. This is as a result of sanctions imposed on the nation by the British government. This was after Robert Mugabe expelled white farmers from Zimbabwe. Guys, whether or not we like it, the truth of the matter is that Kenya needs the trust of her allies. Trust that our leaders can balance Kenyan interest with our own foreign ones. And after Raila's talks with 9 diplomats, he's demonstrated that he's more than suited to the task. After all, who better to secure your interest than a seasoned, statesman.
Point blank period.
Well, unless we want a man who fraternizes with foreigners, apparently wanted for alleged money laundering.
Interesting.
I mean, take your pick.
You know what?
What do you
I
have?
feel Raila Odinga is like our incumbent president. He's
think?
taking the roles of the deputy president and he's doing a great job at
He's
it.
doing a
And I think
fantastic
the
job.
meeting with foreign envoys also underlines this point. Kenya is a geostrategic nation.
Absolutely.
It is,
And
yeah.
there's a lot of focus on Kenya in terms of our relationship with Western allies, with the region. This is the gateway to one of the major gateways to sub-Saharan Africa. So a ringing endorsement from Western allies
Yep.
is one thing to look out for. Ask yourself, which Western allies has the DP been meeting with in recent times? You'll wait for quite a while for that answer. GK, what do you have to tell us?
Okay, I'm going to take us to something that happened very recently. Yesterday, we learned that some leaders from Mount Kenya are planning to hold a series of meetings, which will culminate in a conference in Limuru, where they will draw the blueprint for Mount Kenya in the upcoming 2022 elections and beyond. This news has left me with two key questions, okay? Question one, why Limuru? Let me take some time to give brief historical context to this matter. In 1966, Jomo Kenyatta called for a meeting of KANU delegates at Limuru, at which he said that he would unveil his own proposals for reorganization of the KANU party. During the conference, a new party constitution was drafted and 8 regional vice presidents were introduced. Those loyal to the party were commended and those against were shunned. Now, let me bring it closer to home, something that happened recently. President Uhuru Kenyatta also went to Limuru to request to be supported for the presidency. And the long story short of this situation is that Limuru holds strong political significance in this country. And it is evident that the group of Kikuyu leaders want to make a statement. The question is, what statement are they making? Is it purely an optics exercise using the history of 1966 in support of party, or are they trying to tell us something? Which leads me to question 2. What could this conference mean for Raila? Does that mean that Mount Kenya is still up for grabs despite what Ruto genuinely believes? Could Raila inherit Uhuru's support base and develop a strong coalition? Yesterday, Raila was hosted in Limuru at the home of the late Nginyo Karaoke. And it is reported that later this month, Raila and more than 100 Luo elders will be hosted in Nyeri by the Kikuyu Council of Elders. And as Orengo once said, when the mountain meets the lake, Kenya moves forward. It will be interesting to see what comes out of it. In the end, the upcoming conference reveals the truth about politics in Kenya. That despite Ruto's proclamations about Gema, the mountain will always work to preserve itself and will drift to whoever gives them the highest payoff. It is that simple.
That's quite incisive. And interestingly, the last time Limuru came up in a big way was when the president was in Sagana. And he recalled the agreement that the Gema community had just before he came to the presidency, as you've cited. What is interesting is that Uhuru made reference to it as a point where they decided the direction that they were going to go in. So the fact that this leaders, Mount Kenya leaders, are meeting in Limuru and coming off of what Uhuru said in Sagana, I think that says a lot. And ultimately, truth shall remain the bearer of truth.
Very telling.
Now, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Is a headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, thoughtful or just plain lazy? Who are we giving it to today?
It was a tough one.
It was a really hard one. I really liked the Star headline a little bit. Ruto, Mount Kenya allies table new demands. I felt it had a nice ring to it, and it really worked well with my story. but the Standard also works pretty well as well. What's Ruto up to? I can even answer the Standard for them, by the way. What's Ruto up to? The answer is no good.
No good.
No good.
I think I'm in agreement. And every Kenyan needs to ask themselves this question for the next 355 days leading up to the elections.
Yeah.
When a man is desirous of the presidency, and that is the highest office in the land, he must be held to a very high standard of accountability. So this question is apt. What is Ruto up to?
Exactly.
Now, on to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today we have two. One from the Daily Nation and another from the People Daily. But before we get there, we have a three-part criteria to break down the cartoons for you as well. We ask ourselves, are they humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, effective or just plain lazy? What do we have in the Daily Nation?
Yes, let me give this description. So you've got politicians on the left on the red carpet, and you've got what looks like Eliud Kipchoge on a tattered red carpet on the side. So on the left you have Uhuru, Raila, William Ruto, Kalonzo, and Mudavadi, and them they're walking on a very clean red carpet, and apparently Eliud Kipchoge and his athletes haven't been given a good red carpet, and it's a bit tattered. I don't agree with this cartoon whatsoever, to be honest. Who said that it's been a cold reception? We've called them our heroes. We accept that they're our heroes. It's a different ballgame. I think this was a very lazy cartoon, in my opinion.
Sorry.
Not just lazy, I mean trying to pit politicians and sportsmen and women against each other. Come on now. We know you never get anywhere when you're trying to pit two groups against each other. That's Ruto-like.
And ultimately, how an athlete is received at the airport is not the standard for how we appreciate and celebrate them. On to the cartoon in the People Daily. We have a table there with an MP at the head of the table, and seated across from each other are a senator and a governor, but they're facing away from each other and they're pointing fingers at each other from their backs. And I think this is an issue of accountability in the county for resource allocation. And the reason I like this cartoon for me is that honestly it makes a case for BBI. We can't go into too much detail as it is still in the court's docket. But the fact is BBI introduces several measures for accountability of resources in the county. You have MCAs who will be able to hold governors accountable to a higher standard. You have more women senators, 50-50 gender split in the Senate. And the Senate will also be able to hold county governments accountable for all revenue into the county, not just own source revenue. So I think this cartoon makes a great case for BBI, and for that I think we should award it as a winning cartoon.
Agreed. The description you gave is very nice. It's cartoon. It's not as imaginative as I would have loved it, but as you said, its meaning is very solid. So
when are they ever imaginative?
Oh dear, you've caused beef there.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
So on a day when we had a winning headline from the Standard, what's Ruto up to, and a winning cartoon from the People Daily, we would like to invite you to remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, switch on notifications. You can also find us on Star Times, GoTV, and Pang Free to Air. We leave you with this quote from G.K. Chesterton: fallacies do not cease to be fallacies when they become fashions. Shout out bottom-up economics. God bless.
God bless.